Hello everybody, Happy New Year, Happy 2019, Happy January. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna the Medium. Thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who are new, thank you so much. I hope you stay. I hope you like what you hear. A lot of exciting energy this month. I seem to be getting information that goes a little bit further. So I often talk about February and March. So do listen to these, come back to these when you can. As always, my intention is to give you information that will ultimately help you evolve and grow, that will help you feel empowered, that will help you feel love towards yourself, that will help you feel appreciation for who you are, which is an amazing, amazing divine being. Whatever you take out of this, please always know that it may not make sense to you right away. It makes sense to you later. Some things may hit you right away. Some things may not hit you until 2 weeks from now or a month from now. So do listen to this with an open heart and an open mind. Also, for any private sessions, of course, which I always love to do, that information is down below. Also, the 2019 6-month messages are up and running. I have also included that information for you down below, so make sure you go ahead and check it. And above all, I want to thank you again for coming back. I feel this is an exciting year for all of us. So stay tuned. I hope you like these. Of course, please comment. I always love reading your comments. Thank you again so much for sharing, subscribing, liking. I love each and every one of you. Energy you contribute to what I do. So without further ado, Happy New Year once again. Let's start with your messages. Hello beautiful Leos, Happy New Year to you. It's January 2019 and these are going to be your messages. Let's start off with some energies that I'm feeling for you. When I was preparing for your messages, they gave it to me, Spirit gave it to me in a different way, and a card flew out of the deck, and before I picked it up, I heard them say to me, this is to be their expectation or their focus. And I thought, that's interesting because I didn't ask for that. So what came out was, and this is brilliant, what came out was the 10 of Cups. Now, this is to be your expectation or your focus. Whatever it is that you are dealing with, you are to be absolutely determined in your mind that everything is as it should be and everything is going to find its own place, meaning its balance. In other words, have faith that everything is going to turn out exactly the way it's meant to your benefit. For some of you, it is to make sure that you focus on a great outcome. For some of you, it is to focus on those who love and support you to carry you through this, sounds like transition. It also signifies that there is an opportunity to gain a certain level of emotional maturity when it comes to how you deal with difficult situations in your life. So this card basically says, be mindful of your focus. Make sure that your energy goes towards expecting the best, whatever that may mean for you. Now, expecting the best does not necessarily mean that things are going to work out the way you want them to, because the way you want your situation to work out is based only on what you are currently aware of. There's a plethora of other information that you have no awareness of, and based on that, what may be happening for you is extraordinary, but in fact, because it's being difficult or uncomfortable for you, you may deem as something bad is happening. So you are to be mindful of your expectations. Also, your expectations of the world will be based on expectations you have about yourself as you have determined so growing up. So your subconscious expectation will be aligned with what you have learned from your family growing up. So if your family had an idea that the world is always out to get you, or the world is always bad to you, or you are always the one that is being given the shorter end of the stick, or if you're basically a victim, this will be your expectation. Many of you have the opportunity to close a certain door on a certain emotional chapter that will economically, which means financially, affect you. Therefore, it is very important for you to recognize what your deep beliefs are about life, particularly about a situation that you may be dealing with in terms of your expectations, and noticing where your energy goes, where your energy flows in terms of your focus, or where your thought and your mind goes. Hugely important. This is the first time that they've asked me to do it this way. So it's saying, hey, this is important. Define your expectations. Perhaps redefine your expectations. What is leaving you, or what's leaving you? What energy is leaving you? Although it's still affecting you, you have the Eight of Wands in reverse. And what this is saying to me, that many of you are still dealing with a situation that hasn't gone the way you wanted them to. Perhaps you have felt stuck in your career. Perhaps things didn't go as planned. Perhaps something that you were dealing with didn't go your way, and there is a level of resistance or disappointment. Because it is in the leaving position, it is signifying to me that most of you who will hear this, energetically, you are going through it. In other words, it originated someplace else, and you are going through perhaps the difficult process of accepting it for what it is. If that is the case, it is saying to me that you are moving through this process, and based on what you do with it right now will determine your fated, predetermined outcome, which there is no such thing really, and it will direct the energies or the flow in that way. So if you are struggling with something, if something hasn't gone your way, particularly in November or December, somewhere late last year, if things haven't panned out the way you wanted them to, it is because there is, number one, something you're needing to experience as you go through this. Responsibility to yourself being the first one, but also because you are ready to move on into something new, perhaps something very different, and often something much more exciting than you are used to. But because many of you lack some level of confidence in order to make choices for yourself, to take chances and risks, you've been holding yourself back, and the universe said, okay, well, you've outgrown this, it's time for you to move on, but you're resisting, so let us help you. And that is rarely a comfortable process, but it's in a leaving position, which means you're leaving that behind. Some of you, I feel, you may have to move back home, and you are either resisting being there, or you are, what's the word that I'm feeling here? You're beating yourself up for being there. It's like you're there, but you hate being there, or you have gone back to some situation where you went back for some reasons, whether it's financial, whether it's because it was comfortable, whatever it was, but you're hating yourself for it. It's like you're back to square one. Always know that you have choices at any point, and if they're not physical choices that you like, then you have a choice to look at it differently. I feel many of you are going through some sort of a situation where it is important for you to realize what is driving this thing. Now, if one's belief system is rooted in lack or in the world happening to you, then you will fault and blame the entire world for having put you in that position. chances of you getting out of that stuckness are not very high, because your belief is life happens to you, therefore you have no choices. And the message here is, remember what we've said at the very beginning. This is to be your expectation. Your expectation is to have faith in a best case scenario, but it's not just having faith. It's about focus your mind and energy, which is your thoughts, into the best case scenario versus what you don't want. So a lot of it is going to be around how you think, but how we think is what we attract, is what we create. So what's in your face in January? 7 of Wands, a sign just before you got this, and I believe it was Sagittarius. So if you have any planets in Sagittarius, your moon or your sun or your rising, notice if that is not the same for you, because this came up in the exact same position. And this is about you needing to prove yourself. This is about you perhaps fighting others. This is also you fighting yourself inside. Perhaps you feeling like you are on a different page than somebody else and no one understands you. But it is also about standing up for yourself in terms of committing to you. So it feels like some of you will be dealing with this, whatever that is. For some of you, you'll be dealing this by March. For some of you, it's going to be right around the corner of when you're listening to it. So if there are any situations that you are dealing with right now, particularly when things haven't been going in your in a direction that you would have wanted, or in not satisfactory to you, notice if some of this is not around you needing to prove yourself to others, which if that is the case, you might be wasting your time and energy, because I'm always drawn to say, if you feel a high need to prove yourself to others, then that means you inside of you are not accepting of who you are. Because if you did, you would have no need to fight with others to prove yourself. You would basically say, this is who I am and I accept me, and the world would accept you as a result of that. Ambition, the word ambition is coming up. You may be, how do I say this? Some of you want to reach quite high, but you feel somehow you're not able to do it. Whether it's because you're not lucky, you're not confident enough, you don't have what it takes, you're born in the wrong family, you don't have enough money, life always deals you crap. There is an inconsistency between your desires and your beliefs. It's almost as if your desire is here, your belief is here, and they're opposing of each other, and the energy is contradictory, so they can't be attracted. It's a very repelling motion. Examine your beliefs about you. That is your message in January. And again, examine your subconscious expectations. Your expectations, subconscious expectations, are based on what you believed growing up. So whatever it is that you are dealing with, and I'm just getting a headache, whatever is giving you a headache in the month of January, however small, however big, ask yourself, how is this reflecting what I have learned about life and this kind of a situation growing up? And then ask yourself, is this true for me now? Is this really true? Because what you deem true for you is you'll be confident in experiencing. That's just the way it is. And chances are many of you, if not majority of you, have some sort of lack belief that is inconsistent with what you want. So where is this leading you? Brilliant. This is pushing you to think big. This is pushing you. This is 3 of Wands. This is pushing you to expansion. This is pushing you to think outside of your box, to expand your horizon in terms your desires. This is pushing you to say, what do I want out of life that is more than what I have? there's definitely a feeling of expanding in your career. Some of you, whatever you're dealing with, whether it's a job that didn't go well or some kind of a career move that went sideways, whatever, or love relationship that didn't pan out the way you wanted to, all of it is happening for you in order to push you perhaps in a new direction. For some of you, this is towards being of service to others. The idea of volunteering came up. Don't be surprised if over the next several months you have this inkling to want to help people other than you or outside of you who require some kind of help. This is not financially based. You're not necessarily giving financial aid. You could, but that is not what I'm getting. This is more around the idea of volunteering. I'm getting the notion of the soup kitchen, where you are devoting your time and energy to those who truly lack way more than you, those who are in much worse positions than you, and you devote your time and to helping them, and through that you gain an appreciation of not only your current situation as being better, but also in the fact that every single human being deserves to feel safe and deserves to feel loved, including you. My apologies, my camera is acting up again, so the stars have aligned. Anyway, moving on. What is tripping you up? Well, I love this. Enlightenment is a message that says, what may be tripping you up is the fact that you are needing to look at your emotional attachments. It is about choosing to let go of some emotional attachments, and as a result of that, gaining new perspective. I see this, that you are almost your 11th sign of me doing these for January, and I will say that majority of signs have received a similar message. This is really time of planting new seeds, of making sure we know where our focus and energy goes, because we're moving to such potent energies, and I have experienced this as myself in my life, where I focus on something for a very short time and I release it, because I'm getting a hang of how to do that, and that it appears to me out of the blue. But I also trust that even if it doesn't appear to me right now, I know it eventually will, in a best way that it's meant to be in my life, not necessarily in the way I want to see it. So you are in a process of change. Do not be surprised if during this discomfort time, whatever it is that hasn't gone your way, don't be surprised if you gain a brand new level of understanding by looking at your emotions and what drives you. Remember what we said at the very beginning. Focus on what your subconscious expectation is, and you will find that out better than any other time by looking at your patterns and looking how you have learned to perceive certain situations growing up. And whatever you're dealing with right now will be reflected by what you have learned at some point down the road. So notice what the connection is. Many of you are going to be pushed to being of service to others. Like I said, this is kind of an energy that is flowing through this. And for those of you who have lost your job, or your job is leaving you, or the company is closing, or your commitment to your chosen field of work is winding down, it is because you are ready to step into a brand new career phase in your life. And for many of you, it will be devotion to service. I also always say we're all here to serve others. You can be a clerk in a store taking cash from others. You are giving people service. Traditionally speaking, this is about wanting to do service in more like volunteering or even therapy, reading, energy exchange, Reiki, anything of that sort. It could be practical, wanting to be a doctor, wanting to be a nurse, wanting to be a dog walker. Whatever it is that you deem would be of service to the world, or you being of service, I feel you're being gently pushed into that direction. Now, keep in mind that when we are pushed by the universe and we resist, we will resist because we have all these attachments that we are tied to. Therefore, it is important for you to observe what attachments are being triggered. What fight are you having inside of you? What are you resisting? What are you trying to prove to yourself, to others? Because when I ask for, not because, yes, but I ask for what is working for you, you have the energy of riding the wave. Again, a sign, the Sagittarius sign, I believe, got the same card. It is saying that energetically speaking, the tide is in your favor. In other words, though the tide may be high, which I don't know about you, but for me it would be uncomfortable, it is going in your favor. It will push you, if you let it, to the place you're meaning to let go, you're meaning to go to. Now, there is such thing as called free will, and that is universal law that is never broken. So not even spirit will step out of their way to dictate to you what you should or shouldn't do. Spirit will help you. Spirit will create situations that help you advance, and spirit will often put roadblocks in front of you in order to help you hit the wall, to realize, okay, I can't go any further, because if you did, you'd be veering off your path. Always try to look at things that way. And yes, some things are not as comfortable as others, so I obviously keep that in mind. You have 3 messages of attachments. 3. What does it say? Magic stream in reverse, the witness in reverse, and the flow in reverse. They all say the same thing. If you try and stop the flow, in other words, if you try and resist it, you will respectfully find yourself in a situation once again, but under different circumstances. So there is something really important here that many of you need to look at. It is a pattern that needs to be broken. You don't have to do it. You don't need to do anything, but chances are you'd want to. It is about becoming much more aware in terms of who you are, what you think, what your beliefs are, and how those affect you, including now. Also, if you are being stuck, ask yourself, what is it inside of me that is drawing this attention to this situation to me? And how is this showing me things I don't know about myself? The witness message is all about allowing yourself to be as detached as possible. And when we approach life from a perspective of an observer, which is a skill, we begin to see things in a very different way that ultimately usher brand new understandings, which ultimately begin to pave new path. My throat is being pressed upon, and this is about assertiveness for some of you. It is about standing for your own truth. But before you do that, ask yourself, what is your truth? And is your truth, or is it somebody else's? If you are needing to prove yourself, ask yourself, is it me or is it somebody else I'm trying to prove myself to? And if that's the case, ask yourself the reason why. At the end of the day, when you begin to feel fulfilled internally within you, you will have less need to seek approval of others. It's good to have it. It's fantastic when people say, hey, you're doing great job. We need that. But when we depend on that as our sole food, our sole nutrition, then what we're basically saying is we have no control. What happens to us, we're waiting for others to dictate what we do. Because if you fundamentally believe that your sense of self-worth is dictated by environment outside of you solely, then you are always at the mercy of life to you, which in many cases makes you a victim. So examine those beliefs. We all have them on some level. It's just the way things are. There's no point in denying it, because when we face it, we then become true to ourselves, and then we can let that go. And I think with that said, I'm going to leave it. There is, for those of you who are meant to heal in whatever capacity, you get to define that for you. It not only will it offer you much more balance inside of you, and also please do this from a balanced place, but it will offer you a strong foundation. Being helpful to others feels good. Let's face it. It's just the way it is. That's why things like volunteering feels good. So because it's coming up again, notice if whatever you're going through, if perhaps devoting your time to those who are less fortunate than you, including animals of any kind, perhaps include yourself in the environment where you give of yourself to others unconditionally. And by you doing that, focusing on others, how it comes back to you tenfold. But that's not the point is not to get back. The point is to give, and the coming back happens naturally. And again, many of you are in a position to put a lid on something that needs to be closed and put away somewhere in a dungeon and written history on it. In other words, it's time to let go of some things. Self-sabotage is one of those things that's being highlighted. But I'm going to leave that for now. I hope this was helpful. Please comment if it does help you and how. I read every single one. Thank you so much for liking, for sharing, and for subscribing. Always remember that my aim is to give you something to think about. It's food for thought. How this affects you, each and every one of you, it will differ based on your life. If this doesn't make sense to you right away, it will make sense to you down the road. So do listen to it from time to time. But above all, please pay attention to your thoughts and be consistent with whatever you're trying to achieve. So if you want freedom for yourself, define what that is for you and ask yourself, what can I do right now in order to help and attract that to me? And that's responsibility. All right. Thank you so much once again. Have yourself a wonderful month of January and see you soon.